Hello. So this is the latest development in the game To the Stars, also called SpaceCraft. Um, so so let me just tell you guys a little bit about what I've done first. So the first thing you'll probably notice is there's a bunch of text in the top left-hand corner. Basically, they represent things like the speed, the stability, the weight, the amount of oxygen on board, the fuel on board, power, heat, coolant, ship stability, thrust, and the thrust duration. Now, all of these parameters are controllable by the construction window, which if I just bring that up now, you'll see here. We have a new item. It is the magnetic stabilizer. I've also fixed up that text issue. Now it fits perfectly inside the window, or should most of the time at least. The next thing you guys will probably notice is, I'll just show you this again, it's pretty cool. You can scroll between them, so we're going to have multiple pages of these. We have about 30 different icons ready to go. We just need to make, I don't know, we need to make the components of the ship basically. Still working on that. So yeah, once those components are done, we're just going to be able to slot those into the game and they will integrate perfectly. The next thing that I'll probably tell you guys is I've got the weight system working properly now. So if you have a look at these, you'll see they all have a weight. The air cells weigh 1.31 kilos. The large air cells weigh 2.31 kilos. They all seem to be 0.31. I'll need to fix that. The magnetic stabilizers don't weigh anything. I suppose they offset their weight using magnetics. I don't know how that works, but let's just go back to the main screen here for a second. So if I click this launch button, nothing will happen. We don't have enough fuel on the ship. We don't have any oxygen to mix the fuel with. We can't do anything. So the first thing we need to do is add some fuel to our ship. So if I add some fuel, there we go, I've done that, and I return to the ship. When I click launch, we should get a little bit of boost. We don't get very much boost because we only have fuel. We don't have any sort of additive to that. We've got no oxygen. We can't mix the fuel with the oxygen, and so we can't generate very much thrust at all. On top of that, the duration of the thrust, because we only have one tank of fuel, is extremely low. So we need to add some oxygen to that. So if I add 2 small air cells to that, we're going to be adding some weight to the ship as well, which should that should be noted that if we add weight to the ship, it obviously makes it heavier, which makes it harder to push upwards. So currently, if you look at the screen, we have a weight of 5.93 kilos and a thrust of 32, which offsets that perfectly, so we should go up. So by adding those small tanks of air, basically what we've got is a slight boost to our thrust and to our thrust duration. So we've also got these larger air cells. So if I replace the smaller air cells with larger air cells, and I go back to this screen, what you'll see now is we have a longer thrust duration, a higher amount of thrust, because the fuel mixes with the oxygen, which gives us more thrust, and the oxygen also allows us to use less fuel, which means we get a longer burn duration. So if I run it now, what you'll see is we got a little bit higher that time. And keeping in mind the whole point of this game is to get as high as possible. I suppose that's a good thing. Now the next mechanic I've introduced is the offsetting of weight. So if I remove one of these, let's just go back here. What you'll see now is the weight is obviously more to the left. So when we fly the ship, it should travel more to the left. Okay, which it does. And what will happen is it'll get to a point where it can't spin anymore, and then it basically spins itself apart and explodes. Tomorrow I'll be adding heat and power and coolant to that, so that mechanic will be introduced tomorrow, hopefully, if I get time. So yeah, pretty much that's the latest update with the game so far. More or less what's been going on is stuff in the background, like getting those weight offsets to work, which is completely based on the weight that you're giving. So if we have a smaller amount of weight on the left hand side, for example, say 1.31 kilos, and a little bit more fuel like this, obviously the center doesn't affect the weight, only the left and the right hand side affect the weight. What you'll see this time is that we don't go so far, because it's heavy, we don't have as much. You can see these 2 lines here. We don't have as much left rotation, I suppose you could call it. And again, the same thing applies to the right hand side. If we take away these and just put one of these here, the same thing should happen this time to the right. And again, the ship will basically spin itself apart because it's rotating, and it shouldn't rotate like that. So one of the next things that I can probably show you guys is let's add a lot of fuel to this ship. If I just do that now, and a lot of air, and of course we make those air cells even. Actually, let's make them uneven for now. What you'll see is the ship should fly out of control and basically explode itself apart. It's not good. In order to compensate for that, because obviously when there's more parts, you won't be able to make you will be able to make a symmetrical ship, but you probably want to not make a symmetrical ship because you want to get higher. We have the magnetic stabilizers. Now they don't weigh anything at the moment, but that might change later. The magnetic stabilizers will consume power, so which means you'll need a battery on board of your ship. And obviously a battery has a weight, and that weight is 1.31. So it's not quite enough to offset the large air cells, but it's a little bit there. It's a little bit better. The magnetic stabilizer will help to stabilize your ship when it's flying if the weights are offset. So I'll give you a demo of that, and what you'll see is the ship should travel up. It still veers off to the side because we're obviously heavier to one side. But if I were to take that stabilizer out, show you what happens. It's a much worse scenario. So if there's a possibility that you want to make a ship that doesn't have an even weight, you can basically stack up these magnetic stabilizers, and obviously the more you have, the more effect it gives, and that will help to stabilize your ship. And this time we're going to get much straighter for a longer period of time. So yeah, I hope you guys like that, and once again, let us know what you think. So thanks for watching.